What if I told you the biggest financial battle of this century isn't happening on Wall Street or in Silicon Valley, but deep inside the global oil market? A quiet currency war is unfolding right now between the US petrodollar and China's rising Petro-Yuan. It's a war that will define who controls global trade, who controls energy, and ultimately who controls the world's money. And almost nobody is paying attention. To understand this showdown, we need to revisit the secret that built us financial power. In the 1970s, after the US abandoned the gold standard, the country faced a major problem. If the dollar wasn't backed by gold, why would any nation use it? The solution became one of the most powerful financial strategies ever created. The US struck a deal with Saudi Arabia. Oil would be priced exclusively in dollars, and the world would have to buy dollars before buying oil. In exchange, the US would guarantee Saudi security. This became the Petro-Dollar system, a system that created trillions in global dollar. Demand and cemented the US as the world's financial superpower. But today, China, now the world's largest oil importer, no longer wants to rely on the dollar. China understands a truth every empire eventually learns. The nation that controls the world's energy currency controls global influence. So Beijing launched a bold, multi-layered strategy. Build a Petro-Yuan, form deeper alliances with Saudi Arabia, Russia, and Iran, create yuan-based oil contracts, build alternative pipelines, and offer infrastructure deals tied to yuan settlements. This is not random. This is a deliberate challenge to the dollar's supremacy, and the oil market is beginning to shift. China is signing long-term energy contracts priced in yuan. Russia now sells most of its oil to China and India using yuan transactions. Saudi Arabia, for the first time in half a century, has openly said it is willing to accept currencies other than the dollar. BRICS nations are discussing a new commodity-backed trade currency. Across Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Asia, countries are quietly stepping away from dollar dependence. The global oil market is fracturing into two emerging camps: dollar oil and yuan oil. The showdown has already begun. This battle is not just about currency. It's about military power, global influence, sanction control, trade routes, and geopolitical alliances. If oil stops being priced in dollars, global demand for dollars collapses. That means the US loses printing power, loses sanction leverage, and loses a key element of global dominance, the petrodollar isn't. Just an economic system, it's the foundation of American geopolitical supremacy, and China is directly targeting it. Analysts believe China is following a three-phase plan. First, displace the dollar within Asia, Africa, and the Middle East regions already connected to China through trade or political alignment. Second, build global yuan liquidity through yuan-based oil markets, pipelines, and settlement systems. Third, introduce a commodity-backed BRICS currency, potentially supported by gold. oil, gas, rare earths, and industrial metals, something no single nation has ever used to challenge the dollar. Meanwhile, the US is responding in its own way. Expect political pressure on nations leaning toward China, increased military presence in oil-critical regions, sanctions designed to push countries back into dollar-based systems, and a renewed focus on expanding US oil and LNG exports. Washington is also strengthening ties with Gulf nations. But the deeper issue is this: the world is no longer unipolar. The US is no longer the only superpower shaping global economics. The petrodollar isn't dying overnight, but its monopoly is the future, will likely feature energy priced in multiple currencies, a split global financial system, reduced US dominance, rising influence for China and BRICS nations, and increased currency volatility. This is not the collapse of one system, but the birth of a multipolar economic era where no single nation controls the world's currency. In the end, the petrodollar versus Petro-Yuan showdown is far more than a financial story. It is a historic struggle between two global giants for control of energy, trade, and monetary power. The petrodollar shaped the modern world. The Petro-Yuan is trying to reshape it, and you are living through one of the biggest geopolitical power shifts of the century. Stay alert. This financial war has only just begun.